Everlasting fire. This phrase is actually found just 2 times in the King James New Testament. First in Matthew 18:8, secondly in Matthew 25:41. Matthew 18:8 correlates with Matthew 5:22 and 29 and 30, where Jesus talks about hellfire, and hell is the transliteration Gehenna. We can also include the Lord's discourse in Mark 9:43 through 49. As we learned, Gehenna is translated as hell, perhaps due to its association with fire, which we then connect to the idea of eternal torment. However, this perspective begins to fall apart when we consider the word everlasting. The word everlasting is the transliteration Aionios. The word Aionios is the adjective form of the root word and noun Aion. Strong's definition is weak at best, for he first states that Aion means properly an age, but then states, by extension, perpetuity. Friend, an age is an indefinite period of time and has both a beginning and an end. This being true, it cannot define perpetuity or eternity by extension or otherwise. That's like saying an apple is an apple, but by extension, it's an orange. I have no problem stating that this is probably one of the most confusing errors I've ever seen in the King James Bible. According to the Englishman's Concordance, the word Aionios is found 73 times in the King James New Testament, while Aion 120 times. As to its confusion, Aion is rendered as world, ever, never, forever, evermore, course, ages, beginning of the world, world without end, worlds, of the world, and lastly, ever and ever. And Aionios, a little simpler, it's rendered everlasting, eternal, world began, forever, and of the everlasting. So here's a question. If Aion is the noun meaning an age, and Aionios is the adjective form meaning that which pertains to an age, how in the world could either word ever reflect something eternal? I believe the only place where Aion even comes close to representing eternity would be in the phrase, ages of the ages, as found in the Weymouth New Testament 20 times, Young's literal translation 19 times, the emphatic diaglot 18 times, and eons of the eons in the concordant literal New Testament 21 times. One of the most confusing phrases using Aion is ever and ever, which, if we stay with this rendering and bring it down to our present use of language, means forever and ever. Now, why would we add ever to forever if forever already means eternal? Poetic license? What about the phrases everlasting life and eternal life? Both of these phrases are derived from Aionios and the transliteration Zoe, which Strong's defines as life, literal, figurative. In fact, if my count is accurate, there are 44 occurrences of Aionios Zoe, where a few of them are rendered as life everlasting or life eternal instead of everlasting life and eternal life. The Weymouth New Testament renders eternal life as life of the ages, while Young's as life age during. The concordant literal New Testament renders it as life Aionian, while the emphatic diaglot as life age lasting. But why is any of this important? Because when we remove the idea of eternity from the passages containing Aion and Aionios, it presents a new understanding of those things they are attached to, such as fire, life, or punishment. We are challenged by a new perspective where every reference should be viewed with age in mind. So, allow me to state the obvious. Eternal life is age-lasting life. Everlasting fire is age-lasting fire. Everlasting punishment is age-lasting punishment. Now, before I continue, let me clarify. An age can be a very long time, but never eternity. For example, in other studies I have labeled the time from Adam to Moses as the age of conscience, and from Moses to Christ as the age of law, and the present age as the age of grace. On the secular side, we have the Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Industrial Age, and the present Information Age. Now, what stands out about these ages? Each one segues into another age, overlapping, if you will, from one to the other. As one is ending, another is beginning. So we could, in essence, say that eternity is made up of ages, but is itself ageless, for it has no beginning or end. We can also bring the idea of age down to a personal level, where in its most basic form we have childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and old age or late adulthood. And might we even say that our entire lifespan on this planet is an age as well? Now, of course. Age lasting. Our first understanding is in the phrase itself. If something lasts through an age, then it's age lasting, right? This, of course, begs the question, what if it lasts through more than one age? Does that make it eternal? No, or something may last through several ages, but then end in a particular age. To be eternal means it must exist in every age, as well as outside of every age. God is eternal, therefore, he exists in the ages and outside the ages. And here's something else to think about. Paul spoke about the times and the seasons. Time is defined by hours and days, while seasons are defined by months and years. An age consists of many times and seasons. So here's another view on age lasting. You catch your 10-year-old son stealing for the first time. You then punish him in order to correct him, and make it a point to explain to him that stealing from others hurts them. As a result, your son never steals again. Is this punishment or correction age lasting? It is. Does this mean that you punished him every day going forward? Of course not. Punishment is age lasting because the correction stuck and your son never stole again. And the correction, since he never stole again, might this be seen as a small piece of life in that correction? And this too is age lasting? So in one example, we have both age-lasting punishment and age-lasting life. What about age-lasting fire? Well, that's easy. Jesus defines age-lasting fire as age-lasting punishment in Matthew 25, 41, and 46, respectively. But here's further proof. And he said, the Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. What do we find at the right hand of the Lord? A fiery law. Where is Christ now? At the Father's right hand, ruling the nations. Would he not use the same fiery law that the Father implemented with Israel? Of course he would. For the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Was Jesus referring to this fiery law as the age-lasting fire or basis for correction in Matthew 18:8, 25, 41, and 46? What else would it be? And why is it considered a fiery law? Because fire is not a substance, but a process producing both light and purification, finding the very essence of God's law. Not just the letter of it, but the spirit of it too, explained by Romans 13, verses 8 through 10. The letter of the law is but for an age or two, but the spirit of the law is ageless, for God is love. Friend, for Jesus, fire consistently represented light and purification, not some form of senseless pain and agony as a recompense for sin. After all, proper punishment is always for corrective purposes, is it not? Of course. Otherwise, it's just senseless torture. So what keeps us from recognizing this fact? Tradition, not to mention a strong dose of religious pride. That's it for this study, but be sure to join me again next time. And please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. And I sincerely thank you for being a part of Grain of Wheat Publishing.